Good afternoon, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny down on the lower level, the library, the main library. It is a Sunday, and I believe it's the 10th because my wife comes back tomorrow from Washington where she visited our son Josiah, who's our middle child. We have 3 children. Caleb is the oldest, Josiah is the middle, and Bethany is the last. Bethany and her family live in Denver. Josiah, Hannah, Marika, and Lydia live in Linden, Washington. And our oldest son, Caleb, his wife Emily, and our 2 little granddaughters, Josie, Joy, and Cora, live down the street. So yeah, she comes back tomorrow after being gone 10 days. I'll be glad to see her. And so I mentioned in my last video, I did a Friday Reads and a mini Blue Stockings bookshop haul. I got a bunch of books for 50 cents a piece that I had thrift store books that I got the last couple of weeks from different thrift stores, Goodwill, Salvation Army, Bibles for Mexico, Action House, Humane Society, that just local. And so I thought I'd show you those. First of all, some things I got doubles. I saw this at a thrift store. It was called The Years with Ross by James Thurber. I collect James Thurber. Now, reason why I picked this up is that Ross was he was the founder, I think, of the New Yorker, or I think it was sit here, an editor. But anyway, this is Years with Ross by James Thurber. And I picked this up a hardback. I already had a paperback of The Years with Ross, because James Thurber, he lived from 1894, he died in 1961, was a staff member of the New Yorker for more than 30 years. I have a huge stack of James Thurber's works. I collect writers from the New Yorker magazine, that's why I have them. Says, at the helm of America's most influential literary magazine for more than a half a century, Harold Ross introduced the country to hosts of exciting talent: Robert Belchy, Alexander Wilcock, Odin Nash, Peter Oranon, Charles Adams, and Dorothy Parker. But no one could have written about this irascible, eccentric genius more affectionately or more critically than James Thurber. So now I have 2 copies. I'll probably take this copy to the Book Nook. I also found this novel. I have Samarkland by Amin Maalouf, translated by Russell Harris. This is, and I found out I already had a copy of it in my library, so now this copy I'll take to the Book Nook tomorrow. Tomorrow I volunteer at the library, use the bookstore, the Book Nook, from 10 to 1, so I'll take this. So now, I already had a copy of it. I thought I had dehauled it, but I didn't. And then I picked up a book, a writer I collect. His name is Charles Klosterman. This is his book, What Were Wrong? And I collect him. I have his book, Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs by Chuck Klosterman. I also have him reading the book on a CD. And then I have his book, Eating the Dinosaur by Chuck Klosterman. And then he wrote, I Wear the Black Hat, Grappling with Villains Real and Imagined by Chuck Klosterman. And then he wrote a book called Four by Chuck Klosterman. Consists of 3 parts: things that are true, things that might be true, things that isn't true at all. And then he wrote a book. This is the first book I bought by him, Fargo Rock City, A Heavy Metal Odyssey in Rural North Dakota by Chuck Klosterman. And then I have The Visible Man, the Chuck Klosterman, a novel by the author of Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs and Eating the Dinosaur. So I'm not really sure exactly what his books are about, if they're like essays or observation on popular culture, but books have always kind of fascinated me. This book I had in paperback. I already took the paperback to the Book Nook. This is Philistines at the Hedgegrove, Passion and Property in the Hamptons by Stephen Gaines. It's a memoir. I already took their paperback to the Book Nook. This is a novel. It looked kind of interesting. I found it at some thrift store. It's called November Fest by Theodore Wisner, a novel. I never heard of this guy, but the novel, it says in Germany in 1953, a 17-year-old American soldier serving in the occupation falls in love for the first time with a beautiful war-torn country with a sophisticated and married woman. 35 years later, the force of this enchantment has lifted Glenn Cady from a bleak job on a Michigan assembly line into a world he never could have imagined. As a young PFC, a professor of German literature at a small New Hampshire college, he is married with a beloved daughter in a nursery school, presumably living the life of his dreams, but his devotion as a teacher is now discovers doesn't ensure tincture in the unpopular subject or an academic climate ruled by stringent personal politics. At the same time, his age and suddenly uncertain prospects make him suspect in the eyes of his wife as both husband and father. I don't know. It just kind of looked interesting, so I picked it up. This is a writer that I collect. His name is Mordecai Richler. This is Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz. I collect his writings. I have a couple of his novels over there in the bin. Mordecai, one of our greatest satirists, comes one of the literature's most delightful characters, Dudley Kravitz, in a novel that belongs in the pantheon of seminal 20th century books. Washington Times, a fast-moving, entertaining, brawny novel. Los Angeles Times comments, funny in the biting, subversive manner of Joseph Heller and Philip Roth. So I collect his writings when I see him. I found this at Gateway Center, the Holland Rescue Mission thrift store. I found this at Salvation Army. This is a famous art historian. He writes about art. Herbert Reed, Education Through Art. I have like 3 or 4 of his books. And then I found this at Gateway Center, Middle Sea, a novel by William H. Gass, the author of The Tunnel. This was a true find. You don't really find many perfect condition William Gass novels. And it has a slipcover on it. It looks almost in perfect condition. It's not underlined. I wish it was signed copy, but it's not, as far as I can see. Anyway, that was a true find. Middle C by William H. Gass, one of my favorite writers. This is a writer I never heard of. Margaret Drabble, author of The Middle Ground. She wrote this novel, The Radiant Way, first time in paperback. I don't know. I never heard of her, but she has a following. And she's written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 novels. She's written nonfiction. She must be a British writer. I never heard of her, but I picked it up. It was only like a quarter, I think it was. This is, I found this at Goodwill. This is Huck Out West by Robert Coover. This is a writer I collect. Over on the shelf over there, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his novels. 4. Now this makes 5. Huck Out West. Our leading postmodernist novelist turns his iconistic eye on a great American classic, evoking the language and irreverent spirit of Mark Twain. Huck Out West. And I think I showed you this book, Parting Ways and Illusions, Extraordinary Life and Controversial Views of the Soviet Union's Leading Commentator, Vladimir Pozner. This is an older book, but it's a memoir. It came out in 1990. I collect books on Russia, the Soviet Union, Russian history, and it was only like 50 cents. And then I picked up this at Bibles to Mexico, Zephyr, Tracking a Dream Across America by Henry Kistler. This is about a guy just traveling across the country on this train, and it's like a travel memoir. This is a novel called Little by Edward Carey, a novel. It looked in perfect condition. It was almost nothing, and it just kind of looked interesting, so I just bought it on a whim. This is a memoir of during the suffrage movement. She was one of the leaders of the suffrage movement. Her name was Elizabeth Cady Stanton. This is her autobiography, 80 Years and More, Reminiscences in 1815 to 1897. She was a leader in the suffrage women's movement, turn of the century. This is I had a book. He covers the drug war on the border of Mexico and Texas. He writes really gritty journalistic books, and this is one I came across at Goodwill. Shadow in the City, Confessions of an Undercover Drug Warrior by Charles Bowden. Yeah, I read one of his books last year, and I really liked him. He's written a ton of books, just all kinds of journalistic books. Killing the Water, Street Sign Chicago, Red Line, The Sonora Desert, Blood Orchard, Blues for the Cannibals, Down by the River. I don't know. If I see any of his books, I just grab, because he has a way of writing it's just, I just like the way he writes. Charles Bowden. This is another novelist I never heard of. It was a nominee for the Faulkner Pen Award, Starting Out in the Evening by Brian Morton. It was a New York notable book. And if I see a New York notable book and it's really cheap, I'll just pick it up because it's a New York notable book. And sometimes I have never been disappointed when I pick up one of these kind of novels. This is Southern Gothic by Tom Franklin. I had another of his books that I can't find. I might have dehauled it. But these are his stories. Poachers by Tom Franklin. This was recommended by Philip Roth, Richard Ford, Rick Bass. If I see somebody, if I come across a book and it's recommended by Rick Bass, Philip Roth, and Richard Ford, and it's really cheap, I'll pick it up, because Richard Ford's one of my favorite writers. Rick Bass is one of my favorite writers. Philip Roth, and I like reading Southern Gothic stories. So this is Poachers by Tom Franklin. These are two books by a writer that I've been collecting for a number of years. Stuart Onan, Cities of Secrets. I picked this up at the Humane Society. This is a novel of his. I have a whole stack of his novels, but I didn't have this one, City of Secrets. And then I found another novel by Stuart Onan at the Humane Society. Henry himself, a novel. It's almost perfect condition. And it looks brand new. And it was only like $1. Then I picked this up at Bibles to Mexico. It was all beat up. It was only $0.25. The Silk Roads, A New History of the World by Peter Frankopan. It's not underlined, it's readable, and I like reading about world history. It has kind of interesting illustration. I've seen this in bookstores. It hasn't come into the Book Nook, but it's only $0.25, so I picked it up. So that's the used book haul, thrift store used book haul. Now I can put these books away. I'm not really reading any of them primarily right now. People ask me when they see a book, I'm a book collector. I mean, I don't read everything that you see in these videos. I mean, look at the Book Nook. I mean, look around. I mean, you can go all around. I mean, am I reading all those books? I mean, it's like, I can't read all the books that I have. I have cataloged in my library thing, where I catalog my books. I have 13,000 books cataloged. And I haven't cataloged the books that I bought years ago. They're on the back room. My Christian library hasn't been really cataloged. But I might read this one, Chuck Out West. I just read a novel by Robert Coover last year, The Origin of the Brutus, something like that. And I'll probably I like to read William Gass, Middle Sea. I read The Tunnel by him. So I don't know. So that's the used book haul, thrift store used book haul. I've still been reading at night. David Adams Cleveland Loves Attraction. At first I kind of DF'd this, but I keep reading it because I'm almost done with it. And it's the kind of novel where it's more of an informational novel. It's not really plot driven or character driven. It's more ideas driven. It reminds me of the novels of T.C. Boyle. Every novel has a certain kind of discussion, maybe on ecology or some popular subject. This is like Thoreau and Emerson, the Transcendentalists, art, things like that. I don't know. It's. I'm almost tempted to get another novel by him, just because he is interesting. If you're interested in ideas on transcendentalism, that's what attracted to me. Is one of the things that the character in here is into Henry David Thoreau in Walden, and it takes place in Concord, and I don't know. It's okay. Loves Attraction. I've read almost all of it. I read it before I go to bed at night, so I've been reading that. So I hope you're having a good weekend. This is Sunday. We're going into a new week. We're going to the middle of the month. So yeah, I hope you have a good new week. Do pray that you're all doing well. Keep praying for Ukraine. Pray for the Russians. Pray for mankind. Pray that the Lord will come quickly. So thank you for the comments. Thank you for the new subscribers. Do pray that you're having a good reading weekend. That you have a good new reading week. And until next time, bye.